As Tom alluded, my name's Orlando Hammonds. I'm an account manager with Sage Software. Sage being a leading developer of financial accounting software for small to medium-sized businesses. We operate in 13 countries around the world, including the U.S. and Canada. My role is I've been with the company for 19 years. And some ask me, why have you been with the company for 19 years? Well, first of all, they won't let me leave. Secondly, I'm passionate. Sage's passions and my passions are directly aligned to each other. And in working with an organization and working with professionals such as yourselves, that's important. The passions that we share are passions for our customers and our partners, and as well as nurturing innovation throughout the industry. And first of all, I came through Atlanta, Georgia this morning. Anyone that's flown through Atlanta right after a holiday, that is never a good thing. I learned a valuable lesson this morning. I will spend the $85 for TSA pre-check. But it's been an interesting journey in the 19 years that I've been with Sage. I've had the luxury of working on the customer-facing side as well as the partner-facing side in the ERP community. And over 7 of those 19 years, I've spent working directly with your audience, with accountants. And I've worked with accountants as well as their clients. And some of the observations that I've come across in my 19 years is there's some interesting insights when it comes to small businesses, because we work very heavily with small businesses. I've come to realize the role that accountants play with small businesses is much more than bean counters. You are really the eyes and ears of their business behind the numbers. And this whole evolution, I'm sure you've heard a lot of talk already about artificial intelligence, about client advisory services. That's going to be crucial not only to your success in the future, but also to your client's success in the future. So I'm going to start off by sharing some boring statistics. One of the things that I've observed in the years that I've been with Sage is in order to really serve your clients, advisory is the key term here. Clients, they're great at producing their products or delivering their services, but they suck at financial management. And that's just a fact. And all of the education, all the time and effort you've invested in educating yourself, becoming qualified to carry that honored title of accountant, really you play a key role to helping these firms remain viable, which is what drives our economy. So advisory is a natural evolution, which actually takes it beyond the reporting, the tax filings, and keeping track of compliance issues. You can take the numbers that you actually generate through the regular data that you compile for your clients, which we all know most clients can't read a financial statement. They know the numbers, but they don't know what they mean. This is an opportunity to tell the story behind the numbers, because most clients don't know how to strategize around growing their business. They don't know how to look at the numbers and come up with proactive ideas as to how to address the 3 things that keep them awake at night. Gary Boomer probably said it best. In order not only for you to remain relevant and future ready, but also for your clients to thrive in the future, accounting firms really must meet the needs of the clients. And the client's needs, I'm going to go to some statistics here. Let's talk first about why most entrepreneurs start a business. And there's some interesting findings here. The number 1 reason out of the top 10 is that they're ready to be his or her own boss. 26% of those that start a business want to be his or her own boss. That's great. But once we get deeper into the numbers behind this, we'll see where the problems actually lie. 23% of those that start a new enterprise, they wanted to pursue his or her passion. That's great also and very admirable, but the amount of preparation that went into it is typically lacking. Being passionate about doing something or producing something doesn't necessarily put you in a position to be the best deliverer of that service or that product. The opportunity presented itself. They simply stumbled across an opportunity that they couldn't say no to. Dissatisfied with corporate America. 12% are starting a new enterprise simply because they're dissatisfied with corporate America. 6% of those that started a new business enterprise were because they were laid off, outsourced, or technology replaced their jobs. This kind of goes to an important point. One of the things that I've realized, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, this is simply a personal observation. 20 years ago, the average entrepreneur prepared their entire life to start and operate a business. They educated themselves about how to produce their product, what market they would serve, what was the best way to deliver that product to their clients, how to price their products. The average entrepreneur today does it more so out of necessity. They typically do it out of their own cash, their own personal funds as well, so there's not a lot of preparation that goes into running a business, and this is really where the accountant comes in. Another 6% of those that start a new business enterprise were simply not ready to retire. They've been someone's employee for X number of years and they're simply not ready to retire. Okay, now let's dig into this a little bit. I'm not going to talk about the other 8%, just other random reasons such as life changes, excuse me, and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about startup failure rate of businesses that started in 2014. 80% only made it to the second year. That's 2 out of every 10 small businesses that started in 2014 closed their doors within the first 2 years. 70% only made it to year 3. They were out of business by 2016. 62% made it to the 4th year. Most staggeringly, 44% of small businesses that started in 2014 were done by year 5. They were just done, mostly out of lack of preparation, lack of knowledge, lack of insight, and we're going to dig into some of those specific reasons why these numbers occurred. The top 10 causes that those businesses failed. Number 1, no market need. Remember what I said earlier. They didn't prepare themselves their entire life to run a business. In many cases, it was simply on a whim. I don't want to work for anyone else. I don't like corporate America anymore. I'm passionate about something, but they're not necessarily educated as to how to operate that business or how to market their product or service. Secondly, and most importantly, 29% of small businesses that fail run out of cash. Behind that number, 35% of small businesses that start, they start out of with personal finances. No business loans. They borrow money from family and friends. They pull money from their 401k, their personal savings, and what have you. But like I said, what did I say initially? They're great at their products or services, but they're terrible financial managers. This is where the accountant comes in, and this is where you are sorely needed. Your expertise is sorely needed with these businesses because that is the second reason that they close their doors. The third top reason is they didn't have the right management team. That goes directly to strategy. They didn't build a strong management team or production team or what have you. Third was they got outcompeted. That goes back to market research once again. They weren't aware of what was going on in the market. They weren't aware of what their competition was doing, so they simply couldn't keep up. Pricing and cost issues. Once again, there's that old problem again, financial management. They didn't know how to price their products. They didn't have tight controls over how they costed, what they were paying their suppliers, what they were paying for their materials, or what have you, or even labor costs. The next reason was unfriendly product. Once again, no market research, which goes directly back to lack of preparation. Next reason, product without a business model. They didn't actually develop a strategy to build their business model around the product that they were going to be delivering to the market. Poor marketing. There it is again, ignoring customers, or more succinctly, ignoring customer needs. They didn't do the necessary market research to find out what the need was, what the customers were actually needing. They simply launched a product or service blindly. And last but not least, the product mistimed. Great idea, great product, wrong timing. Once again, we're back to preparation once again. Now, what part does the accountant play in all of this? Understanding three key facts. I've had the luxury of having conversations not only with accountants but also with their clients, and I found one recurring theme that happens across the board no matter how it's stated. There are three key things every business cares about: increasing revenues, lowering costs, and mitigating risk to their business. Increasing revenues typically comes from, it's sort of a trickle-down effect. They want to be able to grow their bottom line, but they don't know how to. They don't know what's going on in their business that's preventing them from growing their bottom line. They don't have a clear vision to how to manage their costs so that, number one, they're paying the best possible price, they're taking advantage of discounts through their suppliers, and that they're maintaining their profit margins. And third, which mitigating risk goes right back to the old compliance and regulatory compliance once again. But those are the things that every one of your clients, to a person, regardless of what they say, are the three things that keeps them awake at night. And those are the three areas, from my observation, that accountants have the best perspective. Because not only do you have your finger on the pulse of the financial health of their business, you know what those numbers mean. The challenge is, and where the opportunity lies, is actually telling that story in a way that your client can understand, develop a strong strategy, and develop a strong action plan to address each one of those areas. Case in point, I was personally involved in a situation with an accountant and a client. The accountant was beginning to delve into advisory services. They took a 3-month period to analyze that client's performance through tracking key performance indicators, taking a look at how they were managing their receivables, their payables, their inventory turnover, excuse me. And as a result of the analysis that they did, they discovered that within 90 days, that client was going to run out of money. Because of the way that they were managing their finances, there was a $50,000 risk to that business. So the accountant had their regular consultation session with the client and discussed their findings. Not only did the accountant discuss their findings, they also, excuse me, gave them ideas as to how they can mitigate that risk. As a result, now let me ask you a question to the room. Which is more valuable, saving that client $50,000 or generating a financial statement? Which is more impactful on that client, the viability of that client's business? As a result of what he did for that client, the client ended up getting additional financing to offset the risk, and it was primarily driven by what his top 5 clients, how they were paying them. And as a result of saving them that $50,000, instead of paying them that few $100s to generate that report, he gave them 10% of what he saved him. The client saw that as being more valuable than the standard tax filings and the report generation that the accountant was providing to them. And if you ask to a client what's more important to them, output or outcome, 99.9% of the time, they're going to say better outcomes is more meaningful to them. Because better outcomes is what keeps them in business. And that's why advisory, that's something at Sage that we talk with a lot of our accountants about, because it really is the wave of the future for your practice. Automation, AI, blockchain is automating a lot of the manual processes that you perform now. Generating financial reports will always be important. Generating tax statements and filings will always be important. But advisory takes it to the next evolution, where it's interpreting that data in a way that it's meaningful to your clients. And that's where your next value proposition is going to come from. Because, and I've been in sales my entire adult life, and I learned a very valuable lesson. You're not going to like me for this. I sold new cars for 6 years. I survived selling new cars for 6 years. The average car salesman lasts 3 years. But I survived because I came to realize what's meaningful to me is not meaningful to that purchaser. So I evolved myself so that I had better conversations with my potential customers. Before we ever went out and saw a vehicle, we sat down and had a conversation. And most times we never had to go out on the lot to see a vehicle, because we had such a meaningful conversation. I was able to go find exactly what they were looking for, bring it to them, cut the amount of time that it took me to sell them that car in half, and doubled how much I made off each sale. And I had happier customers. Even though they were paying a higher price point, they were my #1 recommenders. So that goes to the value of what they see as opposed to what we see, perceived versus real value. What is value proposition? A value proposition is a promise of value to be delivered, communicated, and acknowledged. It is also a belief that from the customer about how value will be delivered. Once again, here we go. It illustrates my point. Their perception and our perception of value are two different things. What we find is meaningful from our perspective may not have an impact on what their ultimate objectives are, which is to grow their business or to remain in business. Advisory. The textbook definition of advisory is having or consisting of the power to make recommendations but not take actions enforcing them. The actions that are taken as the result of you performing advisory services for your clients or on the clients. You're not telling the client what to do, you're advising them based on your findings. And because you are their most trusted advisor, they will listen to your advice. That's my perception of what your true value is. And actually, it's a little short, but your true value is really your insights. As I stated, you've spent a lot of time educating yourselves, passing very rigorous testing to make sure that you're qualified to do what you do. You have the intelligence really to support our entire economy. Because we were looking at 2014 statistics, 2019 statistics are a little more sobering. Actually, it's better than 50% of small businesses that started in 2019 are on the way to going out of business. So here's an opportunity from two standpoints. It's an opportunity for you to strengthen your value proposition, strengthen your position as your client's most trusted advisor, drive a higher price point for yourself, and improve our economy. And Sage, we have tools that are in place. If you want to learn more about what tools and solutions we have in place to help you in this endeavor, because I get it, it's a completely different way of looking at how you engage with your clients, how you do your business, and in some cases, how your clients interact with you. So I'm going to give you a very simple 3-step process to starting down the path of a client advisory service. And all this intelligence you really already have. Analyze your client base. Make a short list of clients that need more than the standard services that you provide. It may be a client that typically runs into cash flow issues. It may be a client their costs are always overrunning, or they're not getting the best deals from their suppliers. Make an agreement with those clients to allow you to monitor their business performance through using key performance indicators, inventory turnover, average receivables, average payables days. Allow you to monitor their performance for 90 days and then have a consultation session with them about what you've discovered and some improvement points as to how they can mitigate some of those problems. And I will almost guarantee you to a person, your relationship with your client will change. I've had conversations with clients that want this from their accountants. They don't want outputs, they want outcomes. So that's my spill on strengthening your value proposition. Thank you, guys.